Right, I'm going to do a wee experiment here, a reaction video. One of my favourite podcasts is Impact Theory by Tom Bilyeu. I've been listening to it for about a year, I think, and he talks a lot of sense, and every time he has a guest on, there's something in it that hits me. In this one, he's talking with Robert Greene, and he's discussing victimhood and I suppose stoicism in a way. And you'll know obviously that I study stoicism. I'm reading this book out every day, getting some wisdom from the Daily Stoic. And I like the philosophy. And one of the things I'm trying to do this year is to move myself out of victimhood mentality, out of fixed mindset and into growth mindset and helping myself. So let's just mute my phone. This clip here, I'm going to play it back and then I'm just going to let you know what comes to mind as I listen to it because, yeah, why not? Here we go.
I'm going to be, hey, listen, this is an identity problem. Right now, you are allowing yourself to be cowed by a terrible set of fucking values. And you need to right now decide what ought someone do with their life? Like, what should you be doing with your life? And this is where everybody fucking hates moralizing, but I think people need to moralize in their own life. People need to have a sense of like, what should life be? Like when we look at the landscape of a life well lived, what ought it be?
Right. Values. When you look at the landscape of a life well lived, what should it be? I've talked about values in some of my Daily Stoic videos, and it's something that's vitally important. This is a concept that I really started to understand when I was studying with August Bradley and learning how to use his Notion life design system. And at the peak of the whole thing, if you think of it like a triangle, the very top of the triangle is values. And this is what Tom refers to as his North Star. So you have to set that before you can align your life towards those values. Because if you don't know what the values are, how can you act in a way that's in alignment with them? Do you know what I mean? So I came to an idea about what my values were really through making content and talking it out when I was walking the dog with a microphone on my lapel, walking through the woods with Clover and just talking. And, you know, I worked it out, and it's not for me to tell you what mine are because that's for you to work out yourself. It's a very personal thing, but it's something that's worth spending time on. And I see that in annual reviews, which is happening right now. There's a lot of different creators that I follow who are giving out their templates, like Chris Williamson's one, who I'm going to get to in a minute. And in the template, you set out values, you know. So that's what Tom's talking about here.
For me, you should be trying to wring every bit of potential out of your life. So cool, maybe your last book bored the shit out of you. Fine, do something totally new. I'm here for it, but find something that's going to make you feel alive. I have done jobs that made me feel the exact opposite, and I would give up creature comforts, I would give up money, I would give up just about anything to feel alive. And so when I watch people live lives of quiet desperation, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. Thoreau, whoever said
Thoreau.
that.
Here's a mad wee bit. The streams crossed just after I'd finished recording the clips and eating my tea. Took the dog out, was listening to Rich Roll, talking to Chip Conley, and this wee clip came up. Check it out.
Then, you know, kind of end up in that state that, you know, Henry David Thoreau talks about when he says the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation.
Yeah.
What is, I think it goes, what is considered resignation is confirmed desperation.
Mm.
And then there's something about going to the grave with the song still in them.
Yeah.
And it's such a dispiriting quote.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to do is provide the antidote to that malady.
It's great when the streams cross like that. The universe aligns. It's all the stuff I'm listening to. It's coming together. It's going in. You know what I mean? I'm getting the same message from different places. It's working. Yeah, most men live lives of quiet desperation. I feel like he's talking to me. And that's not who I want to be, right? So I have to mindset myself out of this so that I'm not living a life of quiet desperation, so that I feel I'm living a life of unfulfilled potential, which I'm ready to fulfill now that I know what my values are. It's good stuff, innit? And he would give up almost anything. In fact, maybe not almost. I can't remember if he said almost. Creature comforts, money, in order to feel alive. Right? How many of us are doing jobs that make us not feel alive for the sake of money? Well, we need money. So if you're in that position, that's a tricky one to navigate, and that's what I'm trying to do. Let's go on.
It's like, hey, no way. Like, that is crazy. People need bright lines in their life. I will never get addicted to drugs because I just would tell myself there's a bright line. You can't do whatever substance more than twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever. The second I'm doing it more than that, I know that I have a violation and I'm going to immediately address it. It's like, if I'm feeling I'm not going to allow myself, see how many people I can piss off with this, I'm not going to allow myself to sit in depression. I may not be able to stop myself from getting depressed, but I'm not just going to allow myself to sit and wallow in it. This goes back to, I'm not going to trust my emotions. I'm going to ask myself what my value system is. Is my value system that, hey, if you're suffering, you just sit in it? No. So it's like, people need to address this stuff.
Right. This is a tricky one because I've been through depression multiple times. And when you're in it, oof, you can't really just mindset your way out of it. You can't, can you? I couldn't. That's all I can say. I couldn't do it. But the stuff I'm talking about here, working out your values and acting in alignment with those values, can perhaps prevent you from ever getting into a state of depression again. But not allowing yourself to sit in it, I don't know. Maybe he's only saying that because he's not experienced it. I can't speak for him. I don't know whether he has. But it sounds to me like he hasn't. But that idea of bright lines as well, that's a really interesting way of looking at things, because I also assume Tom's never had any addiction issues. I have, as you know, if you're watching the channel, I'm quite sure you know. So if you've had those issues, it's not simply a case of deciding you're not going to do it and then not doing it. You need to have a way of practicing good habits and having mechanisms in place. For me, with alcohol, it was Alcoholics Anonymous. That's how it worked for me. Now I no longer attend. I have to do other things. So I feel like my recovery has leveled up. And now that I'm watching content like this and I'm reading books and I'm doing content creation and I'm working the steps in my own way, that keeps me from picking up a drink. With the sugar though, and the social media scrolling, I'm having to cultivate better habits and be mindful of it, and maybe bright lines, maybe Tom's right. If I can set some bright lines with the social media scrolling, which I've done. I've taken away the apps off my phone. Now when I go to bed at night, I get all cozy, pick up a book, and I sit and I read my book. And now I'm thinking about ways of turning that into content, which excites me by an unbelievable amount. I'm so excited about that. And I think that content creation in general, is a healthy solution to addiction issues. Anyway, let's crack on.
So having a biological experience, there's something going on in my brain, in that case, or gut, and I need to address it. And so figuring out what exactly that is, and then making sure that I'm making changes based on value system, frame of reference, beliefs, to ensure that I'm moving towards my North Star.
Right, you said a whole load of phrases there that you hear over and over and over again on impact theory. North Star, values, frame of reference, beliefs. He's using mindset to achieve his goals and to keep him from falling into addictive behaviours possibly, depression possibly, and into success. And I know from having listened to his story that he worked hard to get where he was, and he wasn't always successful. He came from a place of scarcity and managed to get himself to where he is now through hard work, but also belief, mindset. So that's what I'm learning from Tom. And he's in my head, you know, whenever I start eating sugar and stuff, I've got Tom Bilyeu in my head saying, bright lines, motherfucker. I'm like, oh.
And I can only imagine if somebody doesn't know me and they're hearing this for the first time, this is going to sound so Pollyanna. Everything in my life is because that's how I respond to everything. Every time I've had just a grotesque challenge. Yeah, Jesus Christ. The number of things that I've been through in 20 plus years of business is crazy. And inevitably you hit hard times, brutal times, soul-sucking times, whatever. And I have realized that all of my success is predicated on one simple thing. I never quit. And I don't quit because I'm able to recharge myself by going through the process that I just walked through. Should you come to me and say that, yeah, some part of my spirit has been broken.
So, you know, he's managed to lift himself up through hard work. It's inspiring. And that's why I think having a really good content diet is important. So I'm really glad that I've cut out a lot of the politics and stuff, and now I'm trying to focus only on content that helps me, or content that educates me or entertains me. It's good stuff. So let's move on to the next clip that's talking about a similar idea, which is about victimhood.